I'm Andrew, and I'm setting out to make better videos for diesel enthusiasts. Follow along as I review products, do how-tos, and share my personal trucks here on Just Diesels.
All right, today I want to talk about something that a lot of people have been talking about online. This has been going on for quite some time, but I want to talk about trucks and truck pricing. More importantly, have we gone too far? So if you look at what modern diesel trucks cost, you were looking at spending $50K to over $100,000 now. And this is really the first time these trucks have crested over that $100,000 mark. And there are, understandably, a lot of people pushing back against this, saying that diesel trucks have gotten too expensive. They've gone way too far from being the utilitarian hauling tool that they used to be. We're gonna take a look at two trucks specifically as a good example of this. So here I have a 1997 Ford F350, and right next to it, I have a brand new 2023 Ford F250. Now, obviously these are not identical trucks, but these are gonna serve as a good example of how far trucks have come and kind of what they're turning into. So let's take a look at these two trucks more in depth. We're gonna compare their stats, what they're capable of, and most importantly, we're gonna compare their pricing and what you're actually getting per dollar spent. So let's take a dive into these trucks and kind of look at some of those numbers. To start out on the OBS, you're looking at, this is a 1997 model, so you're looking at 225 horsepower, 450 foot-pounds of torque, and that was for the 96 to 97 model year of the 7.3 Powerstroke. Now this was the final generation of the OBS, if you will, so this had the highest power number of that OBS platform. It was backed by either a 4-speed automatic or a 5-speed manual transmission option. Now let's turn to the 2023. That F250, the 2023 Plus Powerstrokes, have either a 430 horsepower and 1,050 foot-pounds of torque option, or if you get the high output, you get 500 horsepower and 1,200 foot-pounds of torque. Now that is backed by a 10-speed automatic. The manual was dropped long ago in the Ford lineup, and now there is no manual available at all in heavy-duty trucks. I wish that was not true. That is a huge complaint of mine, but I digress from the point of the video. Now, if you're looking at towing specs, these towing specs are actually pulled directly from the manuals, and these are going to depend on the exact configuration of the truck. So I have here on the screen, so you can actually see this, you're looking at around 13,500 pounds of max towing as configured on this exact F350 single cab XLT truck that I have here, the OBS. Or if you're looking at the Super Duty, you're looking at 22,000 pounds of max towing. Again, that totally changes depending on the exact options, the specs, and all that stuff. So here I have the charts for both trucks, so you can actually compare and break down the hard numbers on both of these trucks in terms of towing specs. It's safe to say, though, that if you're actually looking at these trucks by the numbers, there is a massive increase in performance in the newer trucks, right? And that's to be expected. We're looking at almost 20 years of innovation, essentially. We've literally doubled the horsepower and torque numbers on the trucks. We have almost doubled the towing capacity on these trucks. It's pretty impressive actually what we've accomplished in that time period, and we're doing it all in a lot more comfortability. So that's the next thing I want to look at, is actually just these trucks, the build quality, the interior, all of that stuff. Again, what you're getting as the full package of the truck per dollar spent. The OBS that I show here is actually an XLT trim package truck. So this was at the time the highest trim level available. It had power windows, it had a tape cassette player in the dash. This was a very nice truck for the time. It had actually a pretty comfortable seat, and this was available as a crew cab configuration with full-size back doors and a rear seat. Obviously, I don't have that here, but that would be the comparable version to the 2023 sitting next to it. The OBS also has a very, very simple suspension setup. This truck is leaf spring front, leaf spring rear. It rides like an absolute wagon. Again, very simple, but it is going to ride like a wagon. It's not going to steer as well as the newer trucks. There's definitely a lot of lacking stuff in terms of technology, right? Brakes, you're having drum brakes in the rear, basic disc in the front, but again, nowhere near the stopping power that you're gonna get out of a new truck. So there's definitely some major changes here just looking at these trucks from truck to truck. Now let's take a deep dive into the brand new Super Duty. This is the updated 2023 Plus body style. So this is going to have the brand new redesigned interior. This is a massive interior, extremely comfortable. This is a truck that is extremely comfortable to spend a long road trip in. Whether you're driving an hour or you're driving 16 hours, this is the truck that you actually want to spend it in. The air conditioning works a lot better. You have a beautiful infotainment system. It's really actually, if you showed someone in the 90s a truck like this, they would think that you were showing them a Bentley or something crazy exotic and from Europe. Trucks have gone a long way And I think that that's because of trucks' roles changing, right? They are no longer viewed as just tools. They've now gotten comfortable enough that you can actually commute to work in them, take your kids to school, and then go tow a trailer. But that's a whole other video. But if you look at this truck in terms of what it's actually possible to do, it's pretty impressive. And I know a lot of people will complain about how new trucks have gotten too many frills and they've gone too far in the direction of becoming luxury vehicles. That's a totally valid argument, honestly. But if you look at what trucks can do, now they're capable of more than they've ever been capable of. Now, let's talk pricing. This is where things start to get interesting. So let's say that, ignore the single cab truck here, I tried to build two identical trucks. So in 1997, I went to the Ford dealership and I ordered a crew cab F-250 long bed truck in XLT trim, 4-wheel drive, automatic transmission, and optioned it as similar as possible to going to the Ford dealership today and buying a brand new 2024 Ford F-250 Powerstroke with an automatic transmission, XLT trim, long bed crew cab. Basically comparing options on these trucks, making them as close as possible to each other. Now I have the pricing shown here. So if you look at those two numbers next to each other, it's insane how much truck prices have ballooned, right? It has literally more than doubled from what it was in 1997 to currently for essentially the same truck. The one thing that messes that up though is when you include inflation and you adjust for inflation. If you actually account for inflation and you built that same OBS F-250 today, you'd be looking at somewhere between $50,000 to $68,000 out the door. Now, if you remember a couple seconds ago, I just said that that new Super Duty costs $68,000 out the door. So if you actually look at what's happening, truck prices haven't changed a lot. And this is not what I was expecting when I made this video. I was expecting to go on here on a whole rant about how expensive new trucks have gotten. But if you actually look at what you're getting per dollar spent adjusted for inflation, you're getting way more truck, right? You can now go out and buy a very base model truck, say for example, a Ram 2500 Tradesman, right? You can buy one of those and leave the lot for about 55, 50K, depending on how good you are at negotiating. In terms of truck per dollar spent, if you looked at that versus a early 90s truck, you were getting way more truck for the money. You were getting double the power, you're getting double the towing capacity, a way more capable truck, a way more comfortable truck, better suspension, better steering, better everything from end to end for essentially the same price accounting for inflation. So really what this video is basically ended up being about is how much inflation has increased the price of goods. That is a whole other topic, but if you're actually looking at it, it turns out that trucks aren't as bad of a deal as they seem like on paper. Yes, I have the window sticker from my older trucks, and it's crazy to look back and see how much cheaper they were than trucks today. But in reality, you're actually getting more truck per dollar spent now adjusted for inflation. So argue all you want about your inflation, about the cost of inflation, about the reason why we have such bad inflation, but this video is really more of a topic of how much inflation has changed the value of the dollar and not how much the actual price of a truck has increased. By the numbers, it's actually amazing what we're getting now per dollar spent when buying a truck. So I thought this was really interesting. I thought it was worth making a video about, and I was actually kind of blown away by how similar it is actually in terms of pricing and how much truck we're getting per dollar spent now. A modern truck is more comfortable, more capable, more everything than its early predecessors, and we're getting it for almost the same price. So curious to see what you guys think, but this one definitely surprised me. When I started looking into it and started researching for this video, I was kind of blown away by the result. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this. If you like diesel content, if you want to learn more about trucks, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you guys' support. I'll catch you in the next video.